Here's what's coming up on the program today. The United Nations steps in after calls for investigation into Dubai's missing princess as the case gains global attention. US President Joe Biden addresses his first town hall meeting, taking on questions from the American people, covering governance, security, and of course, the coronavirus pandemic and vaccine distribution. Plus, 21 people dead in the US state of Texas as power drops, leaving millions without heat. Thanks for joining us on the program. A warm welcome to our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. I'm Teniola Shoboale here in Lagos. We're still following the story about the daughter of Dubai's ruler, Princess Latifah, claimed by the BBC program Panorama of being held hostage inside the UAE. She accused her father of being behind her hostage situation in Dubai since she tried to flee the city in 2018. Secretly recorded videos shared with the BBC, she said she feared for her life. The footage prompted global calls for a UN investigation. Princess Latifah's father, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, is one of the richest heads of state in the world, the ruler of Dubai and vice president of the UAE. The UAE has close relations with a number of Western countries, including the US and UK, which it considers it a strategic ally. The calls for an investigation has caught the UK's attention. Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab have expressed their thoughts on the issue.
That's something, obviously, that we are concerned about, but the UN Commission on Human Rights is looking at that, and I think what we'll do is wait and see how they get on. We'll keep an eye on that.
Made, and we're confident we're on track to do so. We'll obviously get the final data later on today and tomorrow, and it will be a really important milestone because that's the top 4 priority groups that have been offered the first dose, and it is if you like, the first milestone towards the wider plan to get 99% of those at risk of dying vaccinated with the first dose by the end of April. And then everyone in the country, every adult in the country offered a first dose by the autumn. And that's part of the roadmaps.
States President Joe Biden yesterday spoke to the American people on a wide range of issues during a town hall. It was his first town hall since he became president in January. Apart from talking the business of governance, the president addressed the issue of vaccine distribution in the United States. The president said that the United States would have 600 million doses of coronavirus vaccines by the end of July, meaning that jabs would be available to every American. He also said he hoped to have kindergarten to 8th grade students back in the classroom within the first 100 days of his presidency. The United States has the highest COVID-19 cases in the world, numbering over 27 million with more than 2.4 million deaths. Joining us now is Dr. Nelson Aluya, internal medicine specialist and chairman, Nigerian American Physician Association, among many other hats that he wears. Thank you so much for joining us on The World Today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Dr. Aluya, thanks for joining us on the program once again. Was there any comfort for you and your colleagues in the medical profession over what President Biden said last night about the availability of COVID-19 vaccines to all Americans?
Well, yes, definitely. It's very comforting to know that he's taking this very bold and decisive step to ensure that all Americans get the vaccine. Because in all sincerity, considering the number of over 400,000 Americans who are dying and still dying every day, and with bleak projections in the future, the only way we can get around this, where we can begin to save lives and livelihood, is to get everybody vaccinated. Until that, it's really very difficult to achieve anything, especially now that he just came in as a new president. He needs to focus on other issues that are plaguing this country as well. So getting COVID pandemic behind me would be a really good a step in the right direction.
Well, there's been talks about the black community being the hardest hit by the pandemic. I'm supposing this also, of course, includes Nigerians. What is the general perception of the Nigerian community in New Jersey and in the United States to how the government has been handling vaccine distribution so far?
What, here in the United States?
Yes, in the United States.
Well, I use the word. It's been a little bit psychotic from the previous administration, but with this administration, they have put most likely, I think, right people in the right places to ensure that distribution is adequate, it's far-reaching, and people who they're prioritized, as a matter of fact. And those who need to get them early and on time to save those lives, and then slowly, roll it downwards to other people who are less likely to die from the disease. It's difficult, it's hard, and because of the whole historic perception that people have had with COVID vaccine research in the first place, a lot of blacks in the community are not taking this vaccine and they don't want to take it. But I and my group, the AMPA, the Nigerian Association of Nigerian Physicians here in the US, NAPAC, the Nigerian American Public Affairs Committee, where I'm the president, we've done a whole lot of community outreach. I was actually at the Redeemed Church in Orange, New Jersey, where I spoke to the community on the reason why they need to take this vaccine so that it can save lives. Because look, as a people, we have reasons to, historical reasons to be concerned about spread of technology, but we must embrace and adopt to understand technology so that it can save lives.
Yeah, just to latch onto what you just said there, many people are still skeptical about these vaccines, about taking them. What advice do you have to anyone that might be a bit wary or whether or not to take the vaccine?
The question is this: vaccines are safe. Do vaccines work? Yes, they do work. And I told them yesterday or on Sunday, look, here in the United States, when was the last time anybody saw polio? We don't see polio here. When was the last time anybody saw measles or chickenpox? No, they don't, because these things work. Because they've rolled these things out over decades here in this country, and they've been able to mass vaccinate, especially children, where they have a schedule. Because I'm also a pediatrician, and I know what the schedules look like. So we've been able to eliminate those diseases here in the United States. And thank God, we've been able to do that as well in Nigeria. If you understand, I think Nigeria was one of the other 3 countries in the world that still had polio. But thank God we've been able to do that. And that's what vaccines do. So, but the concern that most people tend to have with this is because, they say it's new, the technology is new, they don't understand whatever. Look, I'll tell you this, the technology concerning this has been ongoing for the longest time. I mean, even the component that helped to deliver the vaccine itself was first written about in 1971. And then, the mRNA technology itself was actually initiated by Dr. Catalina Carrasco, who wrote a paper in University of Pennsylvania. And initially, when she wrote that, they thought it was impossible, and they ridiculed her. And she was actually not promoted because of that. But look, and when she did that, she said their initial reason was to help treat metabolic diseases. But when the world was faced with the chaos of the pandemic, people looked around for solutions because people were dying. We didn't want to face what the world faced in 1918, where over 25 million people died on Earth, and even over 550,000 people died in that year in Nigeria. So, and understanding how things were, so people make sure that they went through this, and that's why the mRNA technology has been adapted to help, one, increase or shorten the time where vaccines are developed and made, and make it safe enough for it to be delivered. I'll tell you this, the technology that is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And I always tell people, I say, listen, the phone you had 5 years ago, 2 years ago, it's not the same phone you have today. So also the car that you drive. Technology has made it easy and advanced it. So the technology for vaccines will also advance. It's expected. So this is what we're facing. And the world should be grateful for this technology that we have. So look, it's safe. Go get yours. And I've had mine. I have 2 doses. The first one I had a little cold and aches and pain. The second one I did. And I'm alive and I'm here. I didn't grow wings and I don't have feathers on my toes. So please go out there and take the vaccine. It's safe. Vaccines do work and they save lives.
All right, then that's good to know. Dr. Nelson Aluya, internal medicine specialist, thank you so much for your thoughts on the world today.
Great. Thank you. My pleasure.
At least 21 people have died as a huge winter storm sweeps across southern United States. Millions of people have also been left without power, leaving them to bear with freezing conditions. The worsening weather conditions are being felt more in the state of Texas, not used to seeing this much snow at least. Widespread blackouts have been reported as the energy grid was overwhelmed by a surge in demand.
Indeed, the state of Texas is experiencing a historic winter storm that has left millions without power and spun killer tornadoes into the U.S. southeast. The brutal cold engulfed vast swathes of the United States, shattering COVID-19 inoculation vaccine supplies. It is not expected to relent until the weekend. Local media say at least 21 people have died in Texas, Louisiana, Kentucky, and Missouri, including 4 killed in a house fire in Sugar Land, Texas, where the power was out. Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner says 1.3 million people in the city remain without power. The city is looking for businesses that still have power to open their doors as warming centers. Officials have also warned people not to bring grills or propane heaters indoors. Hospitals have also been treating people for carbon monoxide poisoning as they try to heat icy homes using those items. Temperatures have fallen to negative 35 degrees Celsius in Lincoln, Nebraska, shattering a record set in 1978 of negative 27 degrees Celsius. In the southeast, a low-pressure system that developed along the Arctic front created fuel for storms that unleashed at least 4 tornadoes. The fourth most severe twister left 3 people dead and homes flattened after it swept overnight through Carolina's coastal Brunswick County. Meanwhile, heavy snowstorms have pummeled the Chicago area over the past week, leaving cars stranded in clogged roads. The snowstorm and blizzard pose serious threat to people in their travel, although the city authorities have developed 200-plus snowplows to clear the roads. There had been at least 17 traffic accidents by Monday this week, leaving 3 people dead and 5 others injured.
Coming up later on the program, it appears Japan does not want female opinion in government. The ruling party says it would allow women in its key meetings. Stay with us on the program. U.S. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell may have thought he was doing former U.S. President Donald Trump a favor when he voted against convicting him at the last impeachment trial. But the action is little appreciated by the former president. Instead, former President Donald Trump called McConnell a solid and unsmiling political hack in a broadside attack just days after the Kentucky Republican voted to acquit Trump in his second impeachment trial. After that vote, McConnell ripped Trump in a speech from the Senate floor, and the two have been estranged in recent months after working closely together during the former president's 4 years in office. Former President Trump said Mitch is a sullen and unsmiling political hack, and if Republican senators are going to stay with him, they will not win again. He also adds in a statement that he will never do what needs to be done or what is right for our country when necessary and appropriate. I will back primary rivals who espouse making America great again and our policy of America first. We want brilliant, strong, thoughtful, and compassionate leadership. Mr. Trump's call for compassionate leadership came in a petty statement full of ad hominem attacks, including a jab at McConnell's family, and after years of some of the most political leadership in American history. The former president routinely insulted his critics and political opponents, as well as members of the military, his own health experts, and fellow Republicans who he did not find sufficiently loyal. To our coverage of the coronavirus pandemic, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says it's absolutely right to take a data, not date approach to easing the country's COVID-19 restrictions, as England will ease the measures cautiously. The country has begun the world's first trial of the use of 2 different doses of COVID-19 vaccines. Mr. Johnson based his response to the issue of lockdowns on the experience last year when hospitality was fully opened last because there is an extra risk of transmission from hospitality. Here's more on this and other developments on our COVID-19 Global Update.
The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson was making the comment while addressing vaccination centre workers in South Wales. He says people should not pay too much attention to speculation in the lead up to his announcement.
That's why we'll be setting out what we can on Monday the 22nd about the way ahead, and it'll be based firmly on a cautious and prudent approach to coming out of lockdown in such a way as to be irreversible. We want to be going one way from now on.
Meanwhile, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says the Union has struck a deal for an extra 150 million doses of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine this year, nearly doubling the number of shots secured from the US biotech firm for 2021. Under the deal, the European Union also has the option to buy another 150 million doses next year. The EU has already booked 160 million doses of the Moderna shot for this year. Deliveries began in January with a target to supply 10 million doses by the end of March, although there have been some delays. South Africa has begun administering its first COVID-19 vaccine, with President Cyril Ramaphosa getting the Johnson & Johnson shot alongside healthcare workers as the country battles to tame a more infectious coronavirus variant. South Africa has recorded almost half of the COVID-19 deaths in Africa and over a third of confirmed infections on the continent. It is also one of the first African nations to vaccinate against COVID-19 at a time when some wealthier nations are already well into their mass immunization programs.
India provides vaccines to the world.
Finally, India has offered a COVID-19 vaccine to all United Nations peacekeepers, nearly 95,000 troops in 12 missions around the world. The country's External Affairs Minister says that 15 nations across the world have already received India vaccines, and 49 more countries will be supplied in the coming days, ranging from Europe, North America, Latin America, the Caribbean to Africa, Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands.
Hundreds of thousands of people marched in Myanmar today, rejecting the army's assertion that the public supported its overthrow of elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi and vowing that they would not back down in their bid to end military rule. Opponents of the February the 1st military coup are deeply skeptical of the military leader's assurances given at a news conference on Tuesday that there would be a fair election and it would hand over power, even as police filed an additional charge against Aung San Suu Kyi. Seated protesters in Yangon chanted "Free, free Aung San Suu Kyi," while others painted words against the military in giant lettering on a busy street. Now, after a sexism dispute sparked by Tokyo Olympics chief saying women talked too much at meetings, Japan's ruling party wants women at key meetings, but only if they don't talk. The The ruling Liberal Democratic Party has proposed a new plan that allows 5 female lawmakers to join the party's key meetings as observers. Toshihiro Nikai, the party's 82-year-old Secretary General, said that it's important for the party's female members to look at the party's decision-making process. Those female observers can't speak during the meetings, but can submit opinions separately to the Secretariat office. This week, a group of female lawmakers at the Liberal Democratic Party asked Nikai to increase the ratio of women in key posts at the party, but requiring female observers at meetings to remain quiet has drawn criticism that the party is out of touch. Now, just a week after former U.S. President Donald Trump's historic second impeachment trial on a charge of inciting a deadly storming of the U.S. Capitol, Atlantic City officials have invited the public to watch the implosion of his former casino, now a blighted oceanfront building. Following a series of booms, it took the building about 7 seconds to completely collapse to the cheers of people assembled on a nearby pier to watch its implosion. Mr. Trump, a Republican who was a real estate developer before moving to the White House, opened the hotel and casino in 1984 on the Atlantic City boardwalk, but lost control of the property in a 2009 bankruptcy. His name remained on the casino as part of license agreement until 2014, when the casino closed as Atlantic City struggled as a gambling resort with growing competition in other states. And that's the world today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shuboale. Stay safe.